please. You're a postdoc researcher at Chalmers, and Allison, most of you met yesterday, project lead AI for Humanity from Mila Institute. Elena, in short, what is Living Lab about?
I mean, there are many definitions of what is Living Lab. I really try to take the European network of Living Lab definition that it's a user-centric, it's an open innovation ecosystem with multiple actors and stakeholders trying to conduct research and innovation within the real-life context. So if we can summarize it, you need to have users, you need to have real-life context. It might be building, it might be store, shopping mall, road, street, whatever. You need to have multiple stakeholders and some sort of consortium of different type of mindsets, and you need more or less following research and innovation principles. So that's in short.
I think I'm going to jump directly to the question about your ongoing project, HSB Living Lab. You can't say that in English because no one will understand. HSB, though we know. And this is a project going on in Göteborg. It's a house where students and tenants live, and lots of research going on. Give us some examples.
Yeah, I'm really happy that actually I did my PhD at KTH Living Lab, and I'm doing my postdoc at HSB Living Lab. And actually I'm also living in the HSB Living Lab, so I'm doing my research actually at my home as well. But in short, it's a residential building for both students and tenants. And the focus of this specific Living Lab is sustainable living, which include both environmental and social sustainability. So the portfolio is really broad. We try to focus on different users' needs and actors' needs, and everything we can pull from sustainability science of everyday life, that's what we try to focus on.
So by just living there, you're a part of an ongoing research project, sort of a guinea pig.
Yeah, of course everyone can see it like that, but I can really share with you this interesting, more like mindset. It's not just like place with a lot of sensors. Can you imagine that you come home and just doing your simple routine, you contribute to someone's study? So while you're cooking or taking shower, you help someone to do their product or service or method better. And it's created this sort of, I think we all experienced it during the COVID time when they said, stay home and you will save society. You're like, I am a hero by just staying at home. Wow, I can contribute. And in this case, we all can contribute. Smaller steps, bigger steps, and Living Lab is exactly a place where you can train it more intensively, but we all do it every day. We do recycling because someday researchers said it's good for waste management and heat production. One day we recommended do different things around our homes and our gardens and our public spaces, and this is exactly what Living Lab is. A kind of this kind of quintessence of societal contribution to better future.
Alison, in part one is a guinea pig, one could say, with participating in these ongoing studies, or at least taken into account. What do you think is essential to win the sort of heart of minds and the trust from the citizens who participate in these type of studies?
Yeah, I think this is such an important question because for many of us, potentially many of us in this room, the idea of contributing to research, the idea of data collection isn't so scary. But for many marginalized communities in our society, data surveillance and data collection, law enforcement, research, these things have been quite extractive and haven't resulted in any benefit for their communities and have actually created a detrimental impact on many of these people. And as a result, there's a real fragmentation in trust that these communities have and a real resistance to any type of additional surveillance that might exist. So we have to think a lot about what does it mean to win back these communities, to engage them in a broader process where we're creating value for them as well, particularly value for those that might need it the most. And in the context of a project that I'm developing now, which is the human trafficking project we talked about yesterday, we had to think a lot about what it means to be engaging with survivors of human trafficking, who are traditionally very opposed to any type of AI technology, to law enforcement, etc. And so we took a course on what it meant to be engaging with this community effectively, and that involved elevating them to the level of an expert, paying them appropriately, having them collaborate in setting the agenda of our work, making sure there was some sort of exchange of value by sharing them with them some of the AI practices we were developing, and really making sure they understood the impact that their work with us would have.
So it takes, Elena, some sort of social or knowledge or behavioral studies knowledge to make this work. Do you agree upon that?
Yeah, I would say that I started my journey as a classical mechanical engineer with the focus on data science, and I was sure that I will go this direction until I really was faced to work with people and individuals, not users, not focus groups, but people in their daily life. And it was clear that as engineer, I don't have enough tools to understand human nature, their behaviors, their resistances, frictions. And it really encouraged me to study a lot of behavioral science and psychology. I even did a course in neuroscience. And I could tell you that it advantaged research a lot. And I see that those who are really prioritizing not only tech direction, but adding on psychology, behavioral science, social science, you can really go much further, much faster. Because understanding human is a big part of this equation of what we are trying to design.
But in what sense would you say that the living lab method is more successful than ordinary research, which is going on all the time? What is the real benefit of engaging with people?
I think I can forever talk about living lab's benefits, but I could try to be short. I think the first thing is that we have this isolation of academia for many years, where we do our studies in small research labs in our incubated environment, and then we come to reality, which is much complex. Because we have a tendency to simplify complexity of the world as researchers. And in this case, to avoid this kind of shocking reality of complexity of what is real world, we need to bring research close to where we want to apply it in the end. That's what's called applied science. And in this way, the first thing what Living Lab is giving, it's inviting researchers to do their studies in front of those for whom we're deciding, for whom we want to create these values, and do it together. And it's also changed the role of academia. Instead of we are smart guys in our doctorship positions and professorship positions, we're becoming servant. We're coming to citizens' homes and say, how can I help you, sir? How can I improve your life? What can I do better for you? It's really shifting the role of academia in society and making it much more humble, much more serving.
And you said, Allison, that this could also serve as some sort of antidote to market-driven innovation. So why doesn't market-driven innovation need an antidote?
I think one of the biggest criticisms of AI technology now has to do with a fundamental element of our market systems, which is we want to deploy our products at scale. That's what makes them so profitable. And the reason why living labs can be an antidote to that is because they are designed with a very specific community, geographic region, regulatory landscape in mind. And that's what allows for collaboration with citizens, academia, civil service, to the level of really co-creating a solution that everyone can be proud of and everyone can share in the value in. And I think that that process fundamentally changes the types of tools and products.
So both the result in terms of solutions and tools, but also sort of mindset, feeling included in the process.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't always work out well, of course, nor does any science always. But you mentioned to me a project in Toronto that really went bad. What happened?
Yes, this project in Toronto was aptly called a failed surveillance capitalist experiment that absolutely bulldozed political, civic, economic issues in a very particular region within Toronto. This was a collaboration between Sidewalk Labs, which is a subsidiary of Google, raising a number of questions around data privacy and also who was going to be benefiting from this solution, this smart city. The local authority that they partnered with, which was Waterfront Toronto, did not have the level of regulatory power that they assumed they did. And And ultimately, this smart city ended up endangering citizens' privacy rights, housing affordability, as well as the local economies and innovation ecosystem, and ultimately didn't provide any sort of meaningful exchange of value to the citizens in that area, and ultimately completely crumbled as a solution. So I think we can definitely look to that as what not to do.
What not to do. Elena, you are also talking about responsibility in this context, and that we're not too keen to look upon each other as co-owners of a problem. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think it's also important to understand, and it was very well highlighted during the last Nobel Prize Summit last week, which was called Truth, Trust and Hope, that the complexity of the problems we're dealing today, they are much more bigger than our institutions can really give a response to. And it's important to understand we need to unite around this challenges. We need to really share responsibility. We can't, I mean, when we have a storm, we can't just make a round table and discuss, okay, how to face the storm. We try to really, okay, what can we do all together? We have specific reactions, what's called natural disasters. We share responsibility about we need to face it, but we not always have it when we have smaller challenges. And in this way, Live in Lab really can give this feeling of togetherness. Let's face it together. Let's work on it together. Let's share responsibility. It's not only this actor or that actor, it's us, society, everyone can really do something about what's going on. And in this way, Live in Lab is also kind of bringing this much more proactive position of the citizens and calling this, hey, being humble. Like, I like the CEOs who come and say, like, hey, we don't know how to solve this challenge. Can we do it together, please, our dear customers, clients, or whatever? And in this way, we need this kind of call for, hey, it's too big, it's too complex, let's unite.
And it can also be a way of avoiding future problems. I know you talked about Amsterdam and their renovating problem. Please share. They have this big water and tons of problem in Göteborg. They could be inspired.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting example, which I think we all need to learn from, how challenge can unite people and how mistakes are part of our life, and accept that yes, we can fail. It's fine. In Amsterdam, I think it was 7 years ago, they found that they didn't revisit the renovation of the bridges documents, and they found that 50% of bridges supposed to be kind of collapsing within the next 5-8 years, and it was shocking information to investigate. And instead of panicking or trying to blame anyone, they said, okay, we're doing urban scale Live in Lab, we engage in everyone, we need to really just solve this. Because, just for you to understand, 50% of bridges means paralyzed mobility in the whole Amsterdam, just paralyzed. And they just put their sleeves up and say, we need to work now. We need to start now. And they unite universities, citizens, municipalities, politicians. Everyone just start to really just do almost everyday hackathon on this bridge topic. What we have now, most of the problems solved. Water innovation is booming. A lot of actors really going. New programs get opened. This is a fantastic example how challenge can unite and really boost our innovation process.
Allison, we've talked so much about the speed of development. Engaging with the citizen, bringing in all kinds of parts at the table, one can imagine takes time. What would you say, how should we, or how should leaders and legislators think about that? We're all in a hurry. So do we have that time?
Unfortunately, we don't have an alternative. I think what would take more time is building something as fast as possible and, of course, inevitably having that fail, but also eroding the trust that you could have otherwise built with communities and making it all that much harder to partner with them in the future. So I think, we really need to challenge this notion around moving fast, breaking things, and start considering moving slow and building relationships as being the fastest way to get anywhere.
A beautiful last word. Thank you so much, Elena and Allison.